Hello everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of The Edge. I am your host, Cole McGlumphy. Today our topic is on horror films. Horror has always been a genre in film that has been able to tell stories of intensity or express feelings about someone else. It also explains the mind of what we're all capable of doing to one another in a world of hate. Today I am joined by the legendary Tom Atkins, who has appeared in many classics such as Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, The Fog, the hit television series The Detective, and Drive Angry. Welcome, Tom. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Thanks, Cole. I'm tickled to be here.
That's good. So we'll be talking about horror films today, and one of my off the topic of horror, one of my main questions is, how did you become an actor? How did you get into acting?
I got out of the Navy. Graduated Carrick High School in 1956. Went into the Navy, got out of the Navy, and went to Duquesne University, majoring in journalism.
Mm-hmm.
And I already had a job at the paper. I knew I could work for the Post-Gazette Press. They were combined then. But they had this extracurricular theater group at Duquesne, and I was dating a young lady from Duquesne, and she was involved with that. And I said, I'm not getting my fair share of your time. You're always over at the theater and rehearsing and performing. And she said, come over and do something, and we'll have more time together. So I did, and I fell in love with theater and saw more and more of it and less of her. And she moved to San Francisco, and I moved to New York to become an actor.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it worked out good. Yeah.
And since we're also talking about horror, how did you get into the subject of horror and thriller?
It was kind of my whole life. I've been making my living as an actor for 50 years. And it was kind of serendipitous, meeting the girl, going to the theater group, getting involved, going to New York, becoming an actor. So I did a lot of Broadway, off-Broadway, and regional theater back east, up at the Long Wharf Theater, and then in New Haven, Connecticut at the Long Wharf, and up in Williams College Summer Theater. And after about 6 or 8 years, I thought, I'm going to go to L.A. where you can make real money. As a theater doesn't pay that well unless you're the star of a musical on Broadway. So I went to L.A. and got a series right away, Serpico, and then another one, Harry O., and then Rockford Files. So I was on 3 different television series in the early 70s, mid 70s. And then I met John Carpenter.
Wow.
My girlfriend at the time was had been in Grease with Adrienne Barbeau, the original Broadway show of Grease musical. Mm-hmm. And Adrienne was dating John. Oh. And my girl Garn said, so look, she's serious about this guy, and we have to go see a movie he just made, and it's called Halloween. They're going to air it at the Directors Guild. So we went over the hill into Hollywood to see the Halloween. And it was really scary and really wonderful. And he knew of me and my reputation as an actor, and he offered me the role in The Fog.
Oh, really?
And I didn't have to audition for it, or he just offered me the role of Nick Castle in The Fog. Mm-hmm. I think it was 79 or 80, and that was the beginning. Then I did a bunch of them in a row.
And you did Season of the Witch.
Halloween 3, yeah.
Halloween 3.
Now, John directed The Fog.
Mm-hmm.
We had a wonderful time doing that up in Inverness and Petaluma and up in Northern California outside of San Francisco on the ocean. And a lot of it we shot in Bodega Bay, where Hitchcock made The Birds, another scary movie from back in the day, in the 80s. And though John Carpenter didn't direct Season of the Witch, Halloween 3, he produced it and put it all together, him and his partner, Deborah Hill. So, that job, the director job, went to Tommy Lee Wallace, who was terrific, wonderful director, and a good friend of John's. They grew up together in Kentucky and ended up going to school together. And Tommy wanted me to do Dr. what the hell's his name? I forget. The doctor, the star in the Halloween 3, Chalice, Dr. Chalice. And we went up to, again, Northern California, but not on the ocean, to shoot that one. And it was nice, good, scary movie.
And you've talked about, working with Tommy D. Wallace, and who are the best directors you've worked with? You've worked with John Carpenter and Tommy D. Wallace. Who is
my favorite directors are John. He's a wonderful, wonderful director. Knows what he wants and gives you the framework as an actor to find what he wants and to get there in a scene and fulfill the scene as a character, which you're good at. I've seen you work, and you have a real nice commitment to the character when you're up there on stage. You don't fluff off or make fun of it or play to the audience or your friends in the cast, and it's really admirable.
Thank you very much.
But John Carpenter is a wonderful director. George Romero is another wonderful director, and I did 3 films with George, and God rest his soul, we miss him. He was a giant in the horror realm with Night of the Living Dead and all the Dead movies and Bruiser and everything. He was a Pittsburgh guy.
And you've explained. Have you explained your love of horror to fans all over?
I don't know that I have a real love of horror. It's provided me a wonderful life and living, and I love doing them. But they've always been. I love theater. I love doing The Chief and Scrooge in A Musical Christmas Carol downtown.
I've seen you in Scrooge. You're amazing.
And The Fog was a wonderful ghost story. Horror movies are. I love the horror movies that we made in the 80s, mainly the 80s, because you could root for the people, and you hoped that someone would get out the other end alive and okay, and there was somebody to root for. But the new ones, like Saw, and they're so relentlessly gory, and I don't care about the people in them, and they don't matter to me. So I don't really have a love for those kind of horror movies.
So the new ones, you're not as much of a fan of as from the 80s?
There's a really wonderful scary movie, Get Out.
Oh, I love that movie.
Love that.
I love Get Out.
And it's not a horror movie, but it's a wonderful, scary, frightening film. And the one with Krasinski in The Silence, where they had to be completely silent because the monsters.
A Quiet Place. Place.
Yeah. I love that. That was good.
And so if you were to and I know you continue to do acting as well. Is there any typical director you would like to work with now, or now?
I just finished a job, Trick, a horror movie, Halloween movie, and we shot it up in Newburgh, New York, where and a guy named Patrick Lucier directed it, wrote it and directed it. He has a writing partner, business partner, Todd Farmer, And Todd and Patrick Lussier both wrote it. Patrick directs the movies. And it's the third film I did. My Bloody Valentine 3D, where I died, my whole lower jaw flew off and went over your right shoulder out of the theater in 3D. And then Drive Angry, which I did not die in. I survived that one with Nicolas Cage when we shot that down in Shreveport, Louisiana, and that was great fun. And this one, Trick, up in Newburgh, New York, where I die once again at the hands of the evil person Trick, stabbed to death in a choir loft of a Presbyterian church in Newburgh, New York.
Is it fun working with Patrick Lussier?
Oh yeah, I love him. He's a great guy. He's a Canuck. He's from Vancouver, Connecticut, and his son Devin was an editor on some of his films. Did the cutting and editing while he was shooting, and then Patrick would do the final editing afterwards. Yeah, I love him. He's great. And a guy named Paul Solomoff. I just finished one 2 years ago. It hasn't come out yet. Trick hasn't come out yet. They're still putting it together, I'm sure. But called Encounter, little sci-fi film.
I heard about that one. Isn't that what you worked with Chris Hemsworth? Or?
Yeah, Luke.
Or Luke Hemsworth. Luke Hemsworth.
Yeah, one of the many Hemsworth boys from Australia. They're all stars, and they're all really handsome and in good shape. Yeah, Luke is, he was delightful. And a girl named Anna Hutchinson from Cabin in the Woods, another horror movie. She was his co-star wife in the movie. Yeah, and it was a sweet film. I really loved it. And I won Best Supporting Actor.
Oh, really?
For that not in the Golden Globes or or the Oscars, but in the Miami Sci-Fi Film Festival. That movie got audience favorite, and I won Best Supporting Actor of the 90 horror movies or sci-fi films that they aired.
Well,
screened.
I guess like a late congratulations.
Yeah, well, thanks.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Well, we're going to take a little break, but when we come back, we're going to talk more about horror and how the film can inspire people to be creative. Hello everybody, welcome back to The Edge. I'm here with Tom Atkins. Now Tom, we've talked about like horror films and your work in horror films. Yeah. Is it different like being on like a film set of a horror film instead of being on stage?
Oh yeah, very, very different. Yeah, theater, stage work, as you know, is really hard work. You gotta learn all the words, you got to learn the moves out there, you have to figure out what's funny, what isn't, what works, what doesn't work, and mainly you have to serve the play. You have to serve the playwright and not be a clown out there. And you have to do it right every night. I mean, it's no fun for the audience if you go up and can't remember the words, or you're standing out there going, line. Yeah. The stage manager is shouting from the wing. Yeah, theater is hard work, and I always found film and TV to be a lot easier. It's if it's not going right, you know the director will say, oh, hold on, and you start over. You get a little rehearsal before you shoot the scene, and the scenes aren't ever, that long. They're usually fairly short and manageable. And of course, I did shoot a film of The Chief, which was a one-man show, and that was 24 pages of single-spaced dialogue, just me, nobody else out there. So but by the time we shot the movie of it, I'd been doing it, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years. So I was solid. I didn't. But I love being on a movie set because there's the people behind the camera, the grips, the director, the AD who's wrangling all the people and trying to get them quiet and trying to get everybody. There's a lot of life going on a movie set, and I really like it.
And before we talked about like how you were in Bloody Valentine and like you had your jaw ripped out.
Oh yeah.
How is it hard like getting was that like prosthetics or?
There was a I wish I had a picture, but I don't. But my Bloody Valentine, I have a picture that I take to conventions and sign for fans if they ask for it. But it's a picture of me with the villain, the miner, in his gas mask looking thing with a pick up through my jaw and out my mouth, the pointy end. But it was made out of a guy named Gary Honeycutt from England, does all of the special effects for Patrick Lussier. So he built this thing that fit over my teeth, and it was made of styrofoam. It was nothing. But it was black and had blood from having gone up through my jaw, fake blood. And but this under here was just the cut off the bottom of a pick, so it was sort of flat wood. It didn't, all I had to do was go like that and go with the guy who was on the other end, and it was really easy, but it looked awful. It just looked so painful and awful. And I sometimes sign on the picture, this hurts worse than a root canal, Tom Atkins. But it was easy to do, and I had to get down to. There's a guy here in Pittsburgh, Tom Savini, who did all the special effects for George Romero's movies, and he has a school down in Menneson, and I went there to have my death head built, and they pour stuff over your face, and it used to be really awful, but now it's not quite as bad. It's a rubbery substance, a liquid that makes a form of your head.
Like silicone or something?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure what the hell it's made out of. But I had a grimace because I was grimacing with the thing, so I had to do that, and then they made this death's head, and that's what Gary made, then different models of it, and then that's what flew out.
Was it like hard? Like, did you ever stop like during like the takes, like stop, and then you would have to like probably take it again, like shoot it again, or no?
Oh yeah, we had to do it a couple of times. You hardly ever get away with just doing one take. I know Frank Sinatra, in his day, he used to like to do one take. I was in my first movie as a rookie cop with Frank Sinatra in 1967. Needless to say, I'm very old. But no,
You're not that.
You're
not that.
You always have to do a couple of a couple of takes, but it was not hard. It's easy.
Was it like were you nervous to work with Frank Sinatra?
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah. Here's a story of Frank Sinatra. So I get a call from my agent, says, and I'm pretty new. I've done one show on Broadway, and I'm looking to do this. I get a call. The agent says, go to the Sherry Netherland Hotel. I'm in New York, living up there and working, and go to the Sherry Netherland Hotel, meet the director, Gordon Douglas, and there will be an assistant there to read with you. And here are the sides, and they sent me the sides. The scene, couple of lines from the scene that I had to do with Frank Sinatra. So I go to the Sherry Netherland, and the guy says, "Are you Tom Atkins?" "Yes, I am." "Right in here." So I walked in. There's this old guy in there, and it's Gordon Douglas, the director, and we talked for a minute and chatted a little bit, and then he said, "So you ready to read?" And I said, "Yeah, are you going to read with me?" Because the assistant was gone by then. He was back out the door. And he said, "No." Then he got up and walked over to another door, knocked on it, and Frank Sinatra came in.
That must be like a shocker to you. A shocker.
Yeah, it was. So I read the scene with Frank Sinatra. He knew the words because he was ready. He was ready to start shooting the movie, and it was very nervous. And when we finished, Sinatra said, "Good job, kid." And then he walked out, and the director said, "Well, you got the job." I could, tell the way so it's yours. It's your role. The only thing I want to know is, can you be that nervous when we shoot the scene? And I said, "Oh my God, yeah, Frank Sinatra." Well, and two, the reason I had to be nervous was that I was a rookie cop. He was an old detective. And I had shot a guy in a car who was reaching for his driver's license, but I thought he was going for a gun. And it set off a race war in New York. So that's why he was chewing me out for doing what I did. And I had to be nervous and afraid, because I was afraid I was going to lose my job. He was going to bust me out.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You got to meet Frank Sinatra.
Good story, huh?
Yeah, it's a really good story.
Yeah, and then I got to work with him.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Do the scenes. There were a lot of good people in that. The detective, Bobby Duvall and Jack Klugman, a lot of old actors. Yeah.
So, were they like new people starting off, or no?
No, well, Bobby Duvall was he was pretty new. I don't know if he had done much. Jack Klugman, the others were older and more jaded, kind of more experienced, yeah. But I was the rookiest of
everybody.
All of them, yeah.
That's and you've like
I was a rookie actor playing a rookie cop.
And you've told me like a story about you and John Carpenter like a few years ago. Would you like to talk about the story of like you and Janice going to a concert of John's?
Oh yeah, John came. He in addition to writing and directing his most of his movies, I think all of them maybe, but he did the music for them too. He's a pretty good keyboardist, and he made all that wonderful scary movie music for Halloween and for all of his films. So he did not make the music for Halloween 3. He produced it but didn't make it. So he has a band that includes his son Cody, who's in his 30s somewhere, mid-30s maybe, and him and a bunch of really good musicians, and they toured the world They were over in Berlin and all over Europe and Asia, Japan, and they came to this wonderful old musical venue, the Homestead Carnegie Library Concert Hall, I think it.
Oh, yeah.
It's up on the hill above the waterfront in Homestead. Great old, beautiful venue, and it was wonderful seeing him. But my wife and I went in to take our seats, and somebody saw me and came over and said, "Tom, I love your work. Would you sign this thing for him?" "Yeah, sure." And then all of a sudden there's 20 people. "Tom, I love you. Would you sign?" "Sure." And then I thought, sit down, because he's going to be teed off, waiting backstage to come out and play his music. So I got rid of them. We sat down, and then did that after. Yeah, but it was nice. It was nice and great seeing him. We got to go back and visit with him afterwards. Yeah.
Was he kind of mad? Did he know?
No,
Okay,
he wasn't
good.
mad at all.
Okay, good.
But he was fun. I was surprised how good an evening in music it was. It was pretty good, pretty terrific. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to thank you so much for coming on today.
Oh,
I really
thank
like to
you,
thank
Cole.
you.
Thanks.
It's been an honor.
I
to
really
work with
appreciate it. You're a good friend and a good neighbor, and I'm happy to be here. Thanks.
And you are too. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you all for watching at home. That concludes our talk about horror films. I'm your host, Cole McGlumphy, and we will see you next time on another episode of The Edge.